idea to solve the fiscal crisis: phased in increases in the debt limit. Right now, the tool that the Republicans are trying to use to force spending discipline upon an unwilling Obama is the idea of mandatory spending reductions. And if he fails to make them, we fall off a fiscal cliff, and automatic reductions take effect. But the weakness of that, as we're seeing unfolding in Washington, is what one Congress does, the other Congress can undo. And when you get up against these limits, Congress just has a way of extending the deadline and kicking the can down the road. The Obama administration, for its part, has signaled a total change in our financial policy. No longer will the United States be limited in the amount of debt it incurs. He wants no debt limit at all. He wants a repeal of the whole concept of a debt limit. And if you take that away, there's no other constraint on his borrowing money. Normally, when you want to borrow too much money, the markets won't lend it to you. And if they do, they'll charge an interest rate that's so high that you don't want to pay it. But neither of those incentives exist here, because the federal government isn't borrowing from anybody. It's borrowing the money it prints, that it then gives to a bank and borrows back from the bank. And because it's newly created money, they authorize the banks to charge 3.5% interest, and it's a regulated interest rate. It's not a free market rate. So the normal constraints on flooding this nation in debt are now eliminated, or Obama wants them to be eliminated. Now, the Republicans say, okay, we won't increase the debt limit until you agree to do these spending cuts. But Obama knows that's nonsense. He knows that Boehner's not going to go through with it. He's been up to this brink twice before, and both times Boehner's blinked. And after the election, he's blinking like crazy. So the threat that we won't raise the debt limit if you don't mind your ways in spending and borrowing is ridiculous. Everybody knows that the emperor has no clothes. So here's the solution I propose. The House should say, we will increase the debt limit every quarter by 1/3 the rate of revenue growth. So if you're taking in $300 billion of extra revenue, you can borrow $100 billion more. And as a result, you'll tie the debt limit to a reduction in the deficit, because as the revenues goes up, your deficit drops. And you limit the borrowing until it's earned by a deficit reduction formula. Now, Republicans are unwilling to stand up and say, I'm going to have no increase in the debt limit, because then the Democrats come back and say, oh, you don't want Social Security checks to go out, you don't want combat soldiers to be paid, which of these cuts do you want? But if you're going to allow the government a certain level of debt limit increase every month to accommodate its real priorities, it's calling that bluff. And what you're really blocking by doing that is unnecessary spending and stuff of a much lower order of priority. And the way to do that is to force the administration to prioritize by increasing the debt limit more slowly than revenue itself is increasing. So that's my proposal, and I hope that they listen to it in Congress. It's a good idea. Thanks for watching.